It all began just 9 years ago at Cape Canaveral, Florida. That was the year we launched our first successful rocket. But it was the second that caused the trouble. It was called Explorer 2, if you remember. It thundered off in first-class fashion. Then suddenly the radio signals became garbled, if not rude. Shortly after that, they stopped altogether. In a matter of minutes, the Pentagon was informed, and the whole establishment sprang into action immediately. Everyone rose magnificently to the occasion, and only in one quarter of the world was there a hint of a snicker. After a fruitless search, it was decided that Explorer 2 had disintegrated in space, and only recently did the whole story come to light. Instead of going into orbit around the Earth, Explorer 2 headed directly for a small planet known variously as Tartarus, Sheol, and Hades, and ruled by a most treacherous dictator called Diabolus. Diabolus was an expert in growing dimorphothecae. Each day he arranged them exquisitely on the altar of an old flame who had been in the chorus line of the Black Crook some 80 years ago. This sentimentality of Diabolus disturbed his loyal staff. They longed for a return of his old vigor, and little suspected that the happy occasion was only moments away. Today, there are some who believe Explorer 2 was just a shade off target. But considering that Tartarus is 4.5 light years away, this is hardly likely. Without prompting from anyone, Diabolus decided it was time to climb back into harness. There was work to be done, and the people of the USA had better watch out. Diabolus looked upon it all as something of a sentimental journey back to a favorite haunt, the capital of the United States.
And so, girls, we must ever be on the alert for thrips in our Dimorphorthicus. They're dreadful, dreadful parasites. They would ruin the beautiful Dimorphorthicus. And speaking of parasites, for our civic attitude of the week, I have found a truly worthy cause that we can take up and carry to victory. Hold on, girls. It is a glorious project. We are going to set about correcting a terrible injustice. We are going to set about getting rid of the middleman. As I said, he is a parasite, worse than a thrip, if that's possible. He fattens while we starve. He takes the food right out of our mouths. He contributes nothing to our society. In fact, he is little better than a gangster, grabbing his cut from everything we have to buy. Words fail me when I try to describe how wicked the wholesaler is. Girls, we must enlist the support of everyone. Eliminate the middleman must be our watchword. The middleman must go. Oh, you naughty, naughty man. You've been picking Esther's dime orthophagus. But Esther will forgive you, I am sure, if you promise one thing. You must promise to join our fight. Get everyone to write his congressman these 3 words. Eliminate the middleman. Cross your heart. Hope to die.
There was hardly an American who wasn't strangely awakened that night. Every one of them felt an irresistible urge to write 3 little words. Eliminate the middleman. As if in a trance, millions upon millions plodded through the night to the mailboxes. And there were 47 wholesalers among them. Magnificent new high-speed equipment in the Washington Post Office coped with a mail flow that had never been equaled. Congressional offices were snowed under. Congress dropped everything to heed the will of the people. Wholesaling was prohibited by law, and for a time, only the wholesalers themselves seemed to be affected. But then little headaches began to develop. Retailers had to think a minute. No wholesalers now. Orders must be sent direct to the manufacturer, even if he was on the other side of the country. Manufacturing order departments were the first to feel the change. Suddenly there were 1 million little orders to fill instead of 1,000 big ones. Shipping departments were utterly disrupted. Automatic packaging was a thing of the past. Packing had to be done by hand now. And credit. 1 million credit rundowns instead of a handful. It was going to take help. Lots of it. Help. Please, anything for help. The cost, of course, would go on the merchandise. Human error crept in, and headaches multiplied. Long-distance protests had to come out of profits. Or did they? Soon they, too, were added to the cost of merchandise. Retailers grew to hate manufacturers. And what was worse, customers grew to hate retailers. And retailers themselves began to entertain unwholesome thoughts about customers, like good riddance. New product announcements were filed and forgotten. New products were so many pigs in pokes to wary and worried retailers. Now manufacturers dispatched huge sales staffs to get out and demonstrate new products, as the old wholesalers had done for them. Prices began to skyrocket out of the sheer inefficiency of it all. Next, they built warehouses everywhere the wholesaler had been. The cost, of course, went onto the merchandise. And manufacturers of seasonal goods had empty warehouses sometimes half the year. The consumer paid the needless rent. Prices kept going up and up, and now stores were closing to customers a good part of the time. How else could the mass of manufacturing salesmen be interviewed and stocks replenished? There was no single wholesaler to take the load off the retailer anymore. And without the wholesaler, deliveries could no longer be consolidated. The situation became utterly absurd. Everyone was saying, what a way to run a business. The chaos soon turned into hysteria. Even the price tags were troubled with the same affliction. Supermarkets, controlled by a few large operators, managed to corner what few supplies there were. But now the people rebelled. They would not buy anything, that is, but essentials. Manufacturers and small businessmen had no choice but to get out of business. All across the country, there was the devil to pay.
My feet are killing me. Oh, look, dear. I got a little treat for us.
Oh, Minnie, you shouldn't have. They're so expensive.
They were on special. 2 for only 95 cents.
Just like the old days, isn't it?
Oh, Esther, I can't bear to think about it. Those good old days. Anything we wanted. Every store stuffed with goodies. And all at lovely prices we could afford.
In the good old days, the wholesaler was the hub of enterprise. He collected goods in bulk lots from manufacturers everywhere, allowing them to move merchandise as fast as produced, and maintain stocks at convenient locations throughout the country. The wholesaling hub was always a fully stocked warehouse ready to meet any retailing demands efficiently and economically, and permit savings that could be passed on to the customer. The wholesalers distributed the goods in smaller quantities as needed to the retailers in towns, cities, and even crossroads, and extended credit that would permit the retailer to achieve a maximum volume of business with a minimum of capital. Without the wholesaling hub of enterprise, it was inevitable that only disorganization and spiraling costs would result. No wonder the country was in despair.
Oh, Esther, I can't bear to think of it. You know, sometimes I get the feeling that I am responsible for all these terrible times. Remember our civic attitude of the week, and I said we should get rid of the middleman? Well, I have a funny feeling we did. I don't know how exactly, but... Esther, I think that funny-looking little man that came along while I was speaking, you know, the one that picked your your daisies. Well, I think he had something to do with it. I never confessed this before, but that night I had to get up in the middle of the night. I never have to do that. Well, certainly not to write to my congressman. But that night, something woke me and made me get up and write, eliminate the middleman. Well, I had to get dressed and go to the mailbox. It was silly, but I couldn't stop myself.
You know, Minnie, exactly the same thing happened to me.
Esther, it didn't.
Oh, dear, do you suppose?
Oh, Esther, look!
What shall we do?
I don't know, but we must do something. Hello? We were just talking about you. We were just saying that you're the cleverest man we ever saw. Didn't we, Esther? Yes, and we were betting there wasn't anything you couldn't do. Come, why don't you sit down right here between us? You're such a sensitive man, and you love flowers, don't you? Especially Dimorthothecus. Poor Esther. Her lovely Dimorthothecus were ruined. Absolutely ruined. The thrips got them. Esther was so sad. Oh, dear. I do wish you'd do us just the teensiest little favor. You would? Promise? Cross your heart. Hope to die. Well, get everyone to write his congressman these 3 little words. Restore the wholesaler. promised.